Hello and welcome to Ellen Ruth Soap. I'm Ellen and it is time to start making pumpkin soaps. I love this time of year. Fall is just, oh, it just hits it for me. Love it. The fragrance that's inspiring today's soap is called Bourbon Pumpkin from Wholesale Supplies Plus. I have my notes here. It says that it doesn't cause acceleration, separation, tan is discoloration. I'm like, wait, what? All the shuns. So this does discolor to tan. It does have a little vanillin in it, but this out of the bottle, I have not soaped with this before, but out of the bottle, this is one of my all-time favorite pumpkin-y scents. It's so good. I wish you could smell it with me. So I'm anxious to see if it will stay this delicious smelling after the soap, goes through saponification. Sometimes scent notes can change a little. I'm anxious to see if this is going to hold on because, oh my word, it smells so good. So a couple of things going on today. Number one, it's a pumpkin soap. We're going to add pumpkin puree. This is not pumpkin pie mix, so be sure when you're getting it, it's 100% pure pumpkin. You could make your own pumpkin. If you are a super crunchy granola person, you could bake a pumpkin and scoop out the pulp and puree it, and my hat is off to you if you can do that. I think that's fantastic. I'm using the canned stuff. It's easy. So pumpkin's going in the soap today. One of the things with adding, it's a fruit puree, is the natural sugars make a fabulous lather, but they can heat up in the mold. If you have a big slab mold, the heat mass can build up. So it's just something to watch out for. If it starts to look like it's rising in the middle or cracking on top, throw it in the refrigerator, cool it off. I like gel phase, so I want my soap to get hot, but not too hot. The other thing I'm doing today, I love this fragrance out of the bottle so much, I'm just diving in with both feet. We're gonna make a slab mold, and I've got my little pumpkin molds. I love these molds. I use these every year in the fall. I make the little pumpkins, and then I'm gonna pipe some leaves and stems on them. They're just so cute. I can't resist. I love it. I have a whole bunch of these, and they're so floppy. They're really hard to store. They're up on my shelf with my little silicone molds, and they just flop around. They're like little octopus. But anyway, that's the woes of my organizational skills, which I have promised a studio tour, and it's coming. Not yet, but it's coming. I digress. Let's talk about the color I'm going to use in this soap. Can you tell I'm excited? I love fall soaps. To kick off this orange color, because of the vanillin and the discoloration, I'm using a very bright orange because I want it to kind of rust up and get pumpkin-y color. So I'm going to use this tangerine mica from Be Scented. This is gorgeous color. So it's fun when you're doing a discoloring soap, and if you use a brighter color, just know that it's going to brown out a little bit. But I think this with discoloration is going to hopefully make the perfect pumpkin color. So, oh, that's a mouthful. I rambled on. Thank you for sticking with me. I need to get everything pulled together, and let's come back and make some pumpkin soap. All right, we are back, and it's time to add our soap additives, but let me talk about what we've got going on today. Got kind of a full table here. So one of these is for the slab mold that I will be putting down. These little cold processed pumpkins, I had some extra batter the other day, so I threw some orange mica in there, and then I just dusted them with some bronzy mica after I unmolded them. And I will leave the link for this little pumpkin mold down below. It is so cute. So these are shallow because I only poured the mold like halfway. They're like 1 inch thick if you pour them all the way. But anyway, these are going down on top of the slab mold. So that's one. And then the other one is for my little pumpkins here. And I have a tray off to the side because these are kind of wiggly. Again, it's like working with an octopus. So there's that. And for the slab mold, I have a little container off here to the side that I will be adding a touch of titanium dioxide to for a swirl, so that the slab mold will have a little swirl in there. I'm not going to bother with the little pumpkins because tomorrow when I unmold the pumpkins, I will be doing some piping on the little pumpkins. I'll do leaves and twines, and then I will also do a little piping on the slab mold around these little pumpkins and sort of make like a pumpkin patch on the top. So that's what's going on tomorrow. Boy, it's a busy day. So let's talk about soap additives. Here is my beautiful, wonderful, simple, I love this stuff, just pumpkin puree. When you get go to the store to buy pumpkin puree, make sure that's the only ingredient in there. If there's a touch of citric acid in it to help it from browning, that's okay. But no other additives. Make sure you don't get the pumpkin pie mix, just straight up pureed pumpkin. And I'm going to be approaching this just like I do my milk in oil method. So I weighed this out and I split my pumpkin can so each one gets the same amount of pumpkin puree. This amount I'm treating like a liquid, even though it's kind of thick. I subtracted this from my lye water volume. So there it is. So this is like milk and oil. This is pumpkin in oil. We're going to mix it in here to our oils. The fragrance is already in here because I'm not doing a complicated design. So it's already in here. So now let's go ahead and add our pumpkin in first to each of these. And we want to get it really blended in with our kaolin clay and our colloidal oats and all that. And my lye water is cooling in an ice bath right now. And then tomorrow we will come back to do some soap frosting piping, and I will leave a recipe for the little batch of soap frosting I'm going to make tomorrow. I will leave that recipe down below. It's just a nice little all-purpose recipe, but I have it scaled down to a small amount so that, you know, when you just want to do soap frosting, you don't need to make a whole big old batch of soap. Sometimes it's nice to have a tiny batch. Here goes my dry ingredients, my kaolin clay in each of these. My colloidal oats are going to come up next, and I'm going to go ahead and put my orange mica in the oils because that's going to be the main color, and it just makes it really nice and easy for blending. If you're doing a solid color, adding it into your oils is great because you can blend it really, really well and you don't have to worry about speeding up trace. So let's go ahead and add this in here. It's gorgeous. And again, it's a little bit bright for pumpkin, but I'm thinking with the vanillin in this fragrance, it's going to rust it up. That's what I'm going for here. I'm hoping between the pumpkin puree and the vanillin, we're going to get a nice pumpkin color out of this. We shall see. So let me get this in here. We'll get these blended and we'll come back when the lye water is cooled. Back with our first pot here. I think I'm going to go ahead and pour my little pumpkins, and I do have the molds on a tray here, again because they're floppy. Anytime you're working with little floppy molds, I suggest using a tray. That way you can move them off to the side safely. And this is my lye water, which I have discounted from this to make room for the pumpkin in here. This does not have sugar in it because this pumpkin has a lot of natural sugars. In fact, a word of warning, I'm going to watch these, probably not the individual molds because these don't tend to heat up a lot, but my slab mold, I'm going to keep an eye on it because it can get really hot in the mold. Something to keep an eye on. This does have tussa silk fibers and sodium lactate in here. And so we're going to get it up to a nice light trace and get to pouring our little pumpkins. Then I'll probably just fast forward through the slab mold. It'll have a color swirl and the little pumpkins on top. Anyway, sit back and enjoy. Let's get these pumpkin soaps in the mold. next day, and this was the mold of pumpkins that I poured last, and it was getting very, very thick. I'm going to call this fragrance a fast mover. But the good thing is, as I came in and stirred down in between pours, you could stir it down so it was workable. It did not turn into soap on a stick. So this is what it looked like as it was getting really thick towards the end, and this is what it looked like when I first started pouring. So this is the ideal. Look how adorable that is. But these are still workable, and we're going to frost them up anyway. These are fine, but this is exactly what I was going for. So I need to get these out of the mold, and let's look at the top here. How cute is that? And then all of this is going to get filled in with vines and leaves, and we're just going to turn this into a little pumpkin patch on the top of this slab, and I'll let it go ahead and sit in the mold for another day after, so that the piping we're doing today can firm up. So we will come back and cut this tomorrow, the slab. But right now I got to get all these little pumpkins out of the mold and get them cleaned up. We are back, and it's time to make our soap frosting. I just wanted to show you these little pumpkin molds. These are the ones I got on Amazon that made these embeds. All right, let me set these off to the side. Here is my tiny little 1 pound batch of soap, and I will leave the full recipe down in the description box with the ounces that I'm using today, as well as percentages, so you can size this up or down. It's just a very basic soap recipe, and I'm not going to do any special additives or anything in here. But let's talk about the colors. So this is all going to be green because we're doing light leaves and stems. So I'll use Pine Mica from Be Scented. It's just a beautiful, good green color. So that'll be the color. We're going to mix it into the oils. And then for the piping, I'm going to start out with this tiny little open hole to do the twirly stems. And I don't know what this is. It's just a generic one. I got a kit, a whole set of generic piping tips on Amazon. I'll try to find them. But it's very tiny. So we'll do the swirls on here as well as on our pumpkins. Yes, that's a pumpkin. Sorry, I lost my train of thought. We'll do the stems, and then I'm going to switch I've got a coupler on here so I can switch the tip out to this basic leaf tip so that I can do some leaves, and we'll do some leaves on here, and I'm just going to take my time and decorate all these pumpkins. So what we ended up with, when I get done cutting this, my slab molds, I'll get 24 bars out of here. That's how I like to do it. And then I have extras. I have extra end slices that I can make samples and quarter size bars out of. So I'll get 25 bars out of here, and I ended up with 30 pumpkins. And I have them spread out on these sheets here so that as I pick one up and do the piping, I need to set it down so it won't touch the other one so that the piping can harden and not get smushed. So hopefully I won't bump these together. It's a little bit delicate, but anyway, we've got 30 pumpkins to decorate. We've got a pumpkin patch to decorate. Let's get to it. I'm going to go ahead and add my mica right on in here and blend it in because it's all one color. All right, now I just need to let this sit and firm up to a nice thick frosting consistency before we can get going. it's the next day after the piping, so 2 days since I've unmolded these little pumpkins, and let me just lift this up. Oh my word. I just am so crazy about these, and you can see the orange is starting to rust up, so we're definitely getting a pumpkin color. I'm really hoping it doesn't get too much darker than this, because right here is perfect, isn't it? Oh my goodness. I'm just so tickled with these. They're adorable. They smell fantastic. The piping that I did on top was unscented because I used all my fragrance up in the big soap batch, but it's so little on there. It doesn't matter that it's unscented. These do smell fantastic. I'm so tickled. All right, now let me set these off to the side and let's get into our slab mold. All right, here we are. Let's take a look. Ta-da! I'm so happy. Doesn't that look like a pumpkin patch? I love it. Oh my word. These are giving me 100% autumn vibes. I'm so tickled. Let's get in here and see how that in the pot swirl came out. If you can see the light versus the dark, because all of it was scented, so even the titanium dioxide portion is going to beige up a little, but let's get in here and see. There's only one way to find out. Back with the lovely Olga, and I'm very excited to cut into these. They smell so good. As soon as I ran this through the slab cutter, the fragrance just blossomed. I do have a couple tiny air pockets there. This was very thick. This was a fast moving fragrance. It smells so good, and I really do think it is worth working through the speed of it because it smells fantastic. Okay, now because I had to wait a day to do, had to wait a day to do the piping. This is 2-day old, where normally I cut it after 24 hours. This has been 48 hours, so it is very firm to cut. But let's see if we can see any swirls. Very subtle on the swirls, but I love it. It kind of reminds me of a pumpkin in there. Super happy. Oh my word. So this is going to be kind of a longer video because I did the pumpkins and the slab loaf, but I think I will do a lather test here at the end because I just want you to see how that pumpkin lathers. It is so luxurious feeling. It's like skin food. I love fruit purees in soap. There's something about them. I just think it's particularly divine. So I am happy with these swirls, this in the pot swirl. It was a very thick trace. When I poured it, it's subtle, but I think it really kind of looks like pumpkin inside. And we shall see. So this is what the outside is looking like. There's the inside. This is going to dull up a little bit. Let me show you again for reference. Here is the pumpkin. So I think this is going to be closer to the final color. So this is going to darken up just a little, but look how perfect that color is. So I'm happy. Color me happy. That's so cute. And it looks like these might be the only little air pockets so far, so that is really good. Oh my goodness. Love it. I think autumn is probably my favorite season. I love winter. I love spring. I'm okay with summer. I like to vacation, but not my favorite. Hot summer, and that's funny that I live in Middle Tennessee. But autumn takes the cake for me. Love it. All right, let's get into the next loaf. All right, let's get into our middle loaf here. Goodness, I haven't decided what I'm going to name these yet. I know the fragrance is called Bourbon Pumpkin, but I'm not really smelling a bourbon, smoky liquor scent. It just smells more like pumpkins to me, and delicious pumpkins at that. So I'm still thinking if I want to call it pumpkin patch or something. It'll come to me. by the time we finish this video, I will have a name in mind. But let's talk about working with the pumpkin here. I did do a heavy pumpkin amount in here. Sometimes when you do a huge batch like that, if you just add, you know, like an ounce or two of pumpkin, it's still a great pumpkin soap. But I went pretty heavy on the pumpkin. I split an entire can of pumpkin between the little pumpkins and the bar soaps here. Oops, I'm losing a leaf. Oh, all right, leaf popped off, but there's still plenty on there. Anyway, I used an entire can of pumpkin for all of these soaps, and that was a lot. And I think that that is one of the factors into why this speeded up trace so much. Pumpkin, it got very hot very quickly. It got really thick, but it is going to have a luscious lather. So to me, it's like a balance. For me, it's worth it to do it because it's so good, but it also can become a challenge. So yeah, there's that. So here's a common question I get from people: putting fruit purees and things in your soap, will they go bad? Will you have rancidity issues? And the answer is no, if you don't overload it. So I used a heavy load, but I didn't overload. It was still part of my water portion, and the lye will, the whole saponification process acts as a natural preservative. So there won't be any rancidity issues if you stay within your liquid and lye amounts properly. You should be good to go. There's a tiny little air pocket, and I can fill that in. When I shave the sides, it kind of, you can make like a little soap dough and fill in any holes like that. No big deal. Oh, I'm so happy with these. All right, let's get to our last loaf. All right, we're gonna get into our last loaf. And these are nice and hard, but I'm still gonna let them sit for a couple hours before I come in and do the beveling and stamping. And then I will also do a lather test for you all and all the good stuff. I'm just so tickled. There we go. Yeah, very subtle swirls. I really thought that it would be more swirly than this, but it's okay. I think it looks cool. Well, I hope you enjoyed today's video, this autumn-inspired pumpkin patch video. I sure had fun doing it, and it smells fantastic in my studio, so it's all good here. If you haven't hit that subscribe button yet, please hit that so you don't miss anything going on in the soap studio. And I appreciate you taking the time to be with me today. And I hope that you have a wonderful day.